Alrighty, so here is the video that we chose. But really, I'm going to start as the SLP and Heidi's going to start as a patient. So we're going to start by inserting the camera into, or I guess the flexible scope, into your nose. And it's going to go through your nasal cavity. And we're going to keep following this open space, and right here we're going to see, I'm going to turn this off, we're going to see the soft palate. Here we're going to have you say dunna dunna dunna. Okay, I should maybe turn that back on. And we're going to keep progressing the scope, and we're going to come down. We're coming over the soft palate to the posterior pharyngeal wall, and we're going to curve the camera down so we can get a good view of your I'm at a loss for all my words right now. We can get a good.
Let me ask a question. I'll ask you one question. How come I couldn't see the dangly thing at the back of my throat?
The dangly thing as in your uvula?
Yeah, that thing.
Oh, that thing. So we can't see it because we're actually passing over it, and then we completely pass it all together. So I would say that this would be your uvula, right? And the camera's coming past and over and pointing down, just past it. So we're not going to be able to see it.
Okay.
So now we're in the pharynx. That's the word I was looking for. And here we're going to see the epiglottis. And
fantastic. Can you count up to 5?
We can see the vocal folds down here.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
And you can't see them too well right now.
Right? It feels
but we can see the piriform sinuses around here.
Okay. So we can see the vocal cords.
And just behind this epiglottis is going to be the base of your tongue. There's also a little space that we can't see but between the epiglottis and the base of the tongue, which is the vallecula. And soon we're going to try some swallowing trials. I think we're starting with smoothie and following up with some chocolate.
Yeah, can you laugh?
What does this epiglottis thing do?
The epiglottis,
Why is it there?
The epiglottis is going to flip down, and it covers the vocal folds. And when it covers the vocal folds down here, it's covering your airway, so it's ensuring that the food is entering your esophagus and not your trachea. If it goes through your trachea, it's going to get into your lungs, but if it goes through your esophagus, it's going to go down into your stomach.
And what's the difference between an esophagus and a trachea?
So the esophagus, they run parallel. The esophagus is in the front, and it's what we breathe through. It is the airway to the lungs. The esophagus is completely. Did I say that was a trachea? Was I using the right words?
I can't remember if you switched them. Yeah.
The trachea is in the front, and the esophagus will be behind it, and that's where we want the food to travel down. The esophagus is what connects the throat to the stomach. So one's the foodway and one's the airway. Okay.
Lovely.
So that was the first swallow trial.
So, would you like to have a drink of the smoothie?
And here we have the first sip of smoothie. We saw that the epiglottis flipped down and did cover the vocal folds. We see the tiniest bit of residue, but there's really none, so that's a pretty good swallow. We're going to try some successive swallows pretty soon, I believe.
Lovely. So a tiny.
Where did the food go? I didn't see a tube. I only see the one for the air.
So what happens is when the screen goes dark is the base of the tongue has retracted and the epiglottis has flipped, and the contraction in there is blocking the camera from you being able to see the food actually enter the esophagus here. But it's going back here somewhere.
Okay. What would it look like if there was something wrong with the swallow?
So
My swallow, sorry.
if something was wrong with the swallow, we would see a lot of buildup of the smoothie all in these areas where I'm pointing my mouse, and you'd also see some residue of the smoothie here on your vocal folds. It would be really bad if we saw it passing through these vocal folds. If the smoothie enters any further, then it's going down into your airway, and that we would need to clear out by coughing. And if it doesn't get cleared out, it could eventually lead to pneumonia. So let's see some more.
Yeah, that's fine.
We can see the base of the tongue here as she's chewing. And the vallecula would be just between the epiglottis and the base of the tongue. And that's right down into the airway. Ooh. And you can't see any of the chocolate. She's clearing it out. You're clearing it out perfectly. And any other structures?
I can't think of any more. Do you think we're ready to switch?
This would be the posterior pharyngeal wall.
Because you
I said that.
Lovely, it's all clear afterwards.
identified everything that you
Right,
can,
you did it.
that
Okay,
you
so the
can
days
see
of
in
the week.
this
Uh-huh.
that I can think of.
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday,
All right.
Saturday.
Ready to
Okay.
switch?
Yeah, where is the cursor? And I'll drag it back out here.
Yep, you can control. Yep.
There we go. Nash. Hold on, I'm sorry.
You're fine.
Hey, Tristan. Hey, do you want to talk to Nash? Hold on a second, okay? Okay. Hey, can we stop recording just so I can get Nash for him? Nash!
I don't
You're in
know.
another room across the, sorry. Nash! It's Tristan. Okay, I'm sorry.
It's fine. I could probably like
Okay,
cut it out or something.
edit that out. Yeah, and if not, I'll just apologize to Dr. Becker.
No, it's fine.
The phone rang, and yeah, so, okay. I'm gonna start and press play.
Okay.
Okay, is it playing on your end?
There we go.
All right.
Oh, but why does this
Here's the
have to go
deal.
on my nose?
Because why does it have to go through your nose? This tube is soft, and if we put it in through your mouth, it could get crushed unintentionally. And this gives us kind of a bird's eye view of your swallowing mechanisms in your throat from the top down. And if we went in at the mouth, we wouldn't get to see everything all the way from the top.
Oh, okay.
Still going through the nose, the nasal cavity, and that here is the soft palate. And
Dunna.
Lovely. And again.
Dunna.
And can you swallow?
Why dunna dunna dunna?
the reason for having you say those sounds in order like that is to get the soft palate, which is what we're looking at, to open and close repeatedly, so we can see that it's moving up and down when it needs to close off the nasal passages and open the nasal passages for the nasal sound and the non-nasal sound.
Okay.
Oops, lost my.
So we're going into the pharynx.
Now we are going over the back of the
Right, can you
soft
say
palate.
ee?
This at the very back here. I need to pause it. Sorry. This is the back of the pharyngeal wall. This is the front of the throat, I guess if you could say. This is the epiglottis, and behind the epiglottis here is your tongue. So this is the front of you and the back of you.
Okay.
We're looking at the vocal folds here and the trachea, the airway here. And back here would be where the esophagus is, and it's collapsed right now because you're using the airway and not the food tube, since there's no food in the mouth right now.
Are we ever able to see it open, or is it just is it always collapsed in our view?
We won't ever see it open because during the swallow, I'm pointing at it with my real finger on the screen, like you can see me touching the screen.
You can move the mouse to point.
The mouse.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. This will fold down. These close here. The vocal folds close. And this epiglottis flaps down over this whole opening, which is closed one way already, and then closed a second way already. And then the whole structure collapses down over the trachea and creates an opening. There's a sphincter muscle there that opens up the esophagus for the food to move through.
Okay.
Let me see if I press play if we can see more anatomy.
Fantastic. Can you count up to 5?
1,
So everything
2,
is closed
3, 4.
there. She had her airway closed up. There's no opening and no air. Well, she's about to vocalize. So it's closed, but closed to vibrate, not closed to protect or swallow. And then,
All right. How does it feel like in your throat?
It feels fine. I can feel it more in my nose, but not in my actual
you can
throat.
see the vocal folds vibrating during her speaking.
Why can't I feel the actual camera in my throat?
How can you swallow?
That's a good question. I think probably because it's not touching in the anatomy, but I don't really actually know the for sure answer to that. I think it's just in a cavity. It's in a space. You can probably feel it more in your nose than you can feel it anywhere else. Because it's in a closer spot. It has more stuff to touch inside there.
Lovely.
What else do we have?
So, would you like to have a drink of the smoothie?
Okay, now you are gonna swallow a dyed drink, and you can see the the green smoothie come down, and then everything go white for a second while everything contracts around the camera and you can't see anything, and then everything is cleared. Again, I'm pointing with my hand on my screen. Everything is cleared behind the vocal folds, and there's no food collected, so everything looks normal. Good. We do all of my questions? Your questions?
I think a couple more.
So a tiny bit of green.
So why is that? I think you called it the epiglottis. It moves so much. How is it not blocking the food from even going to the right place? Is that a bad question?
So there is maybe indents in the tissue behind the epiglottis called vallecula, and the food goes down either side of the epiglottis. It kind of cascades around that.
Okay.
And also it flaps down during the swallow, so it's kind of like a little slope during the middle of the swallow.
Okay.
Great. Fantastic. All right, fancy some chocolate?
Yeah, sure do.
What else do you think? Are we missing anything else?
I think I have one more question.
Posterior pharyngeal wall.
I keep swallowing all this food, but I'm really not seeing any of it. Is this normal? Is this fine?
Right. The majority of the food or liquid should stay in the oral cavity until the swallow is initiated, and then it should transfer from the oral cavity to the esophagus very quickly. And the only time that doesn't happen is when we're concerned that there's residue being left behind here or along here, and that can be aspirated and you can choke on that and have that in your lungs, which is where we don't want it.
Yeah. All right. That makes sense.
Did we ask 5 questions?
I think so.
I think we did, yeah. And then anatomy-wise, I think we got it all covered. Are we good?
Yep. So then I'm going to stop our recording.